everybody. Welcome back to my channel, and my esteemed co-host for these types of videos is back as well. Pack guy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Alex. Glad to be here.
Are you ready to irritate Star Wars fans today?
Always.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking some Star Wars today. This is actually a topic I was going to do in those video essays that I announced I was going to do at the beginning of this year, but as I found out with some other video essays that I have done, copyright issues. So I
Isn't
figured
that a
this.
pain?
Yeah, dude. Oh, I didn't even try and get the Spectre video like uncopyrighted. I was like, I don't want to go through it. So I figured that this would be a good alternative. A healthy discussion between the two of us, but probably not a healthy discussion among Star Wars fans because they're probably gonna hate us after
Listen,
this.
Star
This
Wars
is
fans are the most divisive people, like most divisive group of fans I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah.
There's all sorts of factions and warring sides, and it's crazy.
All the Kathleen Kennedy is gone, people.
Those people, you got just all sorts of people. It's crazy. I mean, it's in a way it's amazing, but at the same time, sometimes it's very toxic.
I would say it's more toxic than amazing. Uh, so this is our first installment in our The Sequel Trilogy is Good and You're All Insane. I'm just kidding. No, that's not what it's titled. Just this is our first installment in defending the Sequel Trilogy. We're gonna go movie by movie. This is gonna be three separate videos, three parts. We're gonna talk about each movie: The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. Um,
Duel of the Fates.
which was a dumb title to begin with.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
Like,
liked that title, to
like
be honest.
you can't call the movie Duel of the Fates when the Duel of the Fates already happened, Colin
I
Trevorrow.
I
Okay?
just I just think it's bad marketing to name your movie after such a like specific thing in Star
Yeah,
Wars already that people know and love.
exactly. I got a
Someone
comment
commented
on.
on one of my videos.
Like Attack of the Clones is just. Whew.
I will
I
defend
accept it.
parts of
I I
it.
ex- I accept it as a Star Wars movie, but like a movie itself, ooh, it is not good. Um, so let's get right into it. We are going to be defending The Force Awakens today. What are your overall thoughts on The Force Awakens?
Overall, it's almost I don't want to use the word nostalgic, but there's kind of like a magic when I look back at like when The Force Awakens was coming out.
Yeah,
Like, my memories of this movie are so intertwined with that hype beforehand, where
yeah,
we hadn't had a Star Wars movie in like 10 years. We thought the story was over. Then they announced that Disney bought it and we're making a new trilogy and we're gonna
mhm,
bring back like Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher. And that's the moment where I was like, maybe this will be interesting.
yeah,
And then I remember the hype, and back then everyone was generally like excited. Like Star
yeah,
Wars fandom was like the most united I think it has ever been
yeah.
and
I
ever
think
will
that,
be ever again.
yeah.
Um, like
Until a
everyone
new
was just like,
trilogy comes
yeah,
out.
yeah, like let's get hyped up for Force Awakens. Like it was like such energy in the fan, like positive energy, and I
Yeah,
loved it. And I remember when that teaser came out around Thanksgiving that didn't show like anything. It was like the prior
Yeah,
year.
because it was like a year before it came out.
Yeah, and you saw like the first Kylo Ren in the snow, like from behind with the crossguard saber, and I was like, "What the hell is
Yeah,
that
and
thing?"
then you hear Andy Serkis's what's his face, Snoke. He's like the dark side at the light, and then you just see Kylo Ren whip out his lightsaber, and everybody. I remember everybody flipped at the lightsaber because it was a different lightsaber design. So it was like, oh my god, new lightsaber!
And just like every trailer was just hype and more hype,
Dude,
and it was just
that
like so good.
the final trailer, I still think is the best trailer I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was so exciting, and I remember. So this is going to be a little bit of just a nostalgic trip in the beginning here.
Hmm.
Was seeing it in theaters, opening weekend. I was supposed to go with Casey, my fiance, for those who don't know, and she was sick at that time,
Hmm.
so she just couldn't go. So I went with a coworker instead. We like booked tickets for like right after work on like a Saturday,
Hmm.
and, and I remember like just the excitement and the nervousness and just like oh my god, the whole place was just like everyone was nervous, and then it was like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and it was just this moment of just like quiet, and then someone just goes yeah, and then it was like "Da, da," and everyone was like screaming, and it was amazing. I was like, "This is amazing! Star Wars is back!" And then it was like Luke Skywalker is missing, and I'm like, "Oh shit, Mark Hamill's barely gonna be in this movie." And then I remember sitting beside a woman who was like probably in like her 50s or 60s, and when Harrison Ford showed up on screen, she was with her husband or whatever, and she was right beside me, and she was like, "Oh my god, I love him so much, I always have." And then when he died, she was having a mental breakdown
Oh
beside
my
me, and I'm
god.
like, "I'm sad about Han too, but like, quiet."
Can we watch the movie, please?
But no, like Force Awakens got I mean, overall, the reaction to it was much less negative than next two movies among the fans.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, people seem to enjoy it. It just there was the criticisms. There was, oh, it's too much of a cut and paste copy of New Hope, or
I only
it's
see that in one aspect. I don't in every other aspect that people say that it's a copy and paste. I don't see it in those aspects. I just see it in one aspect.
is that the Han Obi-Wan aspect of it all?
Nope, it's the Star Killer base.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that, I can see the argument. I can see the broad strokes are similar.
Yeah.
Like they go to a base that blows up planets. Han gets killed in front of them, like Obi-Wan got killed in front of. Like there's like similar like beats. But
Just planet.
I've always said that well, always, it's only been a few years, 6 years or whatever. But I mean, I've always said since seeing this, like I think some of those beats, including like the on the nose ones, like Poe putting like the important thing inside of a droid and an astromech droid, like
Yeah.
similar things. I think overall though, to me, some of that stuff was kind of needed to like remind you of like remember like because people forget now, but the prequels were not well liked for a
No,
long
they
time.
weren't.
Like
They
people
were.
are much softer on those movies nowadays.
Yeah.
Because the generation like us that grew up with them, a lot of those people who saw them as kids and loved them as kids, like have such positive thoughts on them because they grew up with them and it's Star
Yeah.
Wars to them. And the Clone Wars show really helped that trilogy like flesh it
Yeah.
out.
Exactly.
But the prequels in the general audience perspective, people were generally negative at the time.
Mhm.
So it was, I think those parts of this movie, a lot of this movie is just kind of reminding you, hey, this is classic. This is like old school Star Wars. We got stormtroopers back. We got TIE fighters and X-Wings, and we
Yeah.
got the music. We got Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon. Like, it's like very like, it's definitely dependent in a way on nostalgia, but I think overall it handles it well.
Yeah.
A lot of the new characters I really, really liked. Um, I thought Ray was a great character. People had the whole
Oh
Mary
my
Sue.
god, you mean she wasn't a Mary Sue?
Yeah, like there was a whole thing, and like that was debated like endlessly. Like, but Ray
Well,
was
here's
likable and she was
here's my
interesting. And
here's my problem with that. The whole Ray is a Mary Sue thing came about from some dude who's not even associated with Star Wars.
talk about Max Landis.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Like he's the one who started that, and then everybody just jumped on the train for some reason and was like, "Yeah, I agree with you." And you know why? It's because people just didn't want the hero to be a girl.
There were definitely people like that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but Ray to me, like she was such a like there was such a mystery around her, which fueled a lot of theories after the movie. But there
That
was
never
such
came true. Well,
right.
maybe one of them came
Some of
true,
them,
but
yeah, like it was the whole thing.
yeah.
But like Daisy Ridley, I thought was super likable. She was a new face, like a actress I'd never seen before. So I just
Right.
was completely invested in like this is Ray. Like this
Yeah.
isn't an actress playing a character. Like this is Ray. Like this
Yeah.
her wandering around Jakku, like and scavenging and like that music, that beautiful Ray theme that John Williams made.
Yeah.
Like amazing stuff. And like I thought she was a great character. I loved Finn, especially in this movie. I think he's great.
Yeah.
I think the idea of a stormtrooper turning to like the light side is really interesting, and I think like we'll get into it later, but I really think his character above all the other characters really got shafted throughout the trilogy. Like he
Mhm.
should have been much more important, like in the
Mhm.
movies. Like, overall, he just kind of got swept aside, and I don't know, not a fan of how they handled Finn overall.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think many people are.
yeah, I loved him in this movie, and there was so much potential, and I feel like they never met that potential.
Yeah.
But like Kylo Ren was an interesting villain, even though in this one he's kind of like emo and like
Well,
whiny.
I the complaint I never understood is that he's just copy and paste Darth Vader. I'm like, yeah, but Vader, like when something doesn't go his way, Vader never expressed emotion like Kylo Ren does. Like the moment Kylo Ren finds out that the droid stole a freighter,
Yeah,
he just flips out and just destroys computers. You know?
and I thought people missed the point. Some people, the
Yeah.
people who said
I
like,
think
"Oh,
like
he's a
the
wannabe Vader," I'm like, that's the whole point. He's
that's yeah.
trying to be Darth Vader.
That's the point. Like he's a poser. He's so invested in the idea of being like as powerful as Darth Vader that he wants to be Vader.
Right. I think
Y-
one of the most telling moments of the whole movie is like he's masked for most of the movie. When he takes it off, you're subconsciously, because we all know Darth Vader, you're thinking, "Oh, what's going to be wrong with this guy? Like, what's wrong with him?"
And
And
there's
then
not
like he's fine. He's a totally normal looking dude, and it's like some people are like, huh, "That's funny," but like, no, that's the point. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't need the mask. Like Darth
right.
Vader needed that to survive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Kylo
exactly.
Ren, it's just a show. It's just a put on.
Going for the mask for a minute. I wish that the first scene of him taking off the mask was him when he confronted Han on the bridge.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been more powerful.
Yeah. Because like he just drops it and then you see his face. Well, he takes it off, you see his face, and then he just drops it. And I think that him dropping the mask or the helmet, whatever you want to call it, and then going back to his face and then cutting right to Han just would have been much more powerful than him in the interrogation room with Ray taking off his mask and putting it on a what is he put it on ashes
Yeah, it's
or
like
something?
Ashes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like it in a way though, because I do like that it kind of connects him and Ray. Like he opens up to Ray in that moment a bit more than he would to other people.
Yeah.
And like the way they're kind of trying to like get inside each other's minds, like.
The first moments of force connection, people.
um,
First.
yeah, like I like Kylo Ren. I thought was a fascinating villain, even in the first movie, and then he goes through like an interesting arc throughout the
They
trilogy.
kind of they kind of made it seem like he was gonna go after like ancient like Jedi like artifacts or at least like Vader or
I think
Anakin
that was in
artifacts.
early drafts. I think he was more of like a relic hunter type
Yeah,
character,
yeah,
which I think would have been a cool like side aspect to him they should have kept.
yeah,
Like I really would have liked that. Because a lot of this, like I think that would have worked well with. I think a lot of what I like about the sequel trilogy, and especially Force Awakens, shows this in like the early part. But I like that like we're in a world where the movies we know, like the classic original trilogy, is like it's like in the past and there's still remnants of it around like
yeah,
star destroyers and stuff like
yeah.
that, and like you're kind of a lot of the sequel trilogy is about like facing like living up to the people that came before you and like
That's what I
overcoming the
think.
newer
I
threats.
think that a lot of people misunderstand that about this whole trilogy.
Yeah,
Like it's going to take more than just the old legends this time around to beat what is essentially the Empire again.
yeah,
Um,
it's a lot about the like being haunted by the past,
yeah, exactly.
for like
Like,
better or
because
worse.
like who would have ever known? Like, I mean, And here's the thing too, like it gets a lot of criticism because it's like the First Order is just copy and paste Empire, the Resistance copy and paste Rebel Alliance. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like after 30 years, wouldn't you expect there to be a copycat?
Yeah, I wish the Resistance and the Republic's relationship was more
Flesh,
like
like the New Republic.
yeah, like I wish they made it more clear what exactly like is going. Like I kind of wish, like the First Order, I feel like makes sense. Like
Yeah,
that's like a neo-Nazi type organization. Like
yeah,
future generations are going to emulate what came before.
yeah.
Like they're going to be people that still believe in that. Like old Empire officers that are still alive, like
Right.
teaching their kids.
Like
Like
General Pride.
yeah, like stuff like that. Like I think that makes sense. So I like that. I just wish maybe instead of like the resistance versus the first order being in like kind of an unclear like conflict, I
Mhm.
think it would have been better if the first order was more of like a terrorist organization almost, like
Yeah,
more like attacking like the resistance, like bombing them and stuff like in
yeah.
like public and like I don't know, more of like a covert like movement rather than like oh, we're flying around in star destroyers and like we're the
I think
empire, but we're
I think
not.
you could still have that, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
go towards like the Black Ops stuff, you know?
Yeah, like a little bit more like underground type of like I don't know, that would have been interesting. But
I
I mean, they kind of made it make sense later with the connection to Palpatine, which is, heavily debated.
Well, it
But
makes
that's
sense.
for a future discussion, I suppose.
uh,
uh,
what about the opening? Like right after the opening crawl. Remember for years it was theorized that it was gonna be like Luke's floating severed hand with the lightsaber.
I would have walked out of the movie.
I would probably too.
I would have been like, no, that's dumb. That's dumb. I hate that
It
idea.
was honestly, dude, it almost happened.
Ugh,
It was
thank
in a
God.
draft.
Thank God it didn't.
I know.
That would have been
Thank
so
God.
hokey, man. Just his severed hand holding the lightsaber.
But people now who probably hate the Force Awakens now after the last two are probably like, well, why didn't we get that? Because then we would have found out how Maz Kanata got the lightsaber. I'm like, that's not important. Who cares about how Maz Kanata got his damn lightsaber?
I also love like on the topic of like the past being very important to the sequel trilogy. I like especially this movie gives a lot of reverence to like the things we know, like
Yeah,
our like the like Luke's lightsaber is treated as like an Excalibur magic sword type of importance. Like
yeah.
this is like something
Ooh,
that
dude,
means something.
I've actually never thought about that because when you go and watch The Last Jedi, like treating Luke's lightsaber in this as like this Excalibur, like legendary type of thing, like you go into the next movie, like The Last Jedi, and Luke is literally like at the lowest because like he thinks that he failed to live up to what he deems himself as, or what everybody else deemed him as a legend. So it's like, wow, like everything associated with Luke is like a legend. Like I've never really put that together with the Force Awakens before.
Yeah, yeah, it's he's treated in this movie, especially because I mean, I thought it. People complain that Luke was barely in this movie. I'm sure Mark Hamill wished he was in the movie more,
Yeah,
but
I think a lot of people thought Luke was going to show up when in the lightsaber fight when
when
Kylo was using the Force and the lightsaber goes zipping by him. I remember I was like, oh, it's Luke, but then Ray grabs it, and I was like, oh, this is a
yeah,
lot
I
better.
I loved that moment. I still
That
do. It gives
moment's
me
so good.
chills every
Yeah,
time.
because then she grabs it and you just get the dun, 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 dun.
So good.
Yeah,
I think Luke. I liked that he was barely in the movie. I liked that he was treated as like oh, you're Han Solo, like Luke Skywalker, like is it like all that stuff, the sword of Skywalker, whatever they call the lightsaber, like
yeah,
it's it's just interesting like the way Luke is looked at in this movie as that legend. I think leads up pretty well to have like the kind of twist of the Last Jedi where he's like
r-
not that,
right,
or at least he doesn't think he is.
yeah,
Like, um, but like I mean, everything in this movie I really like. Like I love Han. People complain that Han wouldn't abandon his kid and go back to smuggling. I'm like Han Solo. Some people don't have like an amazing character growth. Some
right,
people regress. Like,
Yeah,
when trauma and bad things happen, some people
dude.
retreat to something familiar and safe.
Well, dude, well, like I guess you could say in the Last Jedi, like Luke has like a character regression, but like, is character regression necessarily a bad thing? Because
No,
I think character regression is actually character development as well. Like it,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah, because like look at Luke in the like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but like look at Luke in the Last Jedi. Like that is an aspect of that character that we have never seen before. And
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's Luke at his low. Like Luke in the original trilogy was at his high. Now he's at his low. So yeah, he has regressed as a character, but you also developed him further because you added extra layers to his backstory.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the backstory between a lot of people complain too with the sequel trilogy is, especially when Force Awakens first came out, there's not a lot of like exposition in this movie that like explains to you.
I don't think there should be.
You're right, but a lot of people complain about that because they wanted more like of an idea of what happened. You know, like
Yeah.
what caused all this? Like what's the shape of the universe like as it stands? What happened to these characters? Like, but you get enough where you just know in this movie something really bad happened, and Han is like on his own with Chewie again,
Yeah.
and he's not confronting his son. And like when they found like I going into this movie, everyone kind of thought, oh well, Ray and Kylo Ren are probably like siblings or twins or whatever, like they're Han and Leia's kids. So
Well,
like
thank
what?
okay, I'll say this. Thank God that didn't happen because I like the idea of them being connected by the Force
Right.
better. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, when that reveal happened in the theater, I remember it's still kind of like, even though I sort of expected it, it still hits pretty hard. Where he's like, "Your father, Han Solo," like
Yeah.
it's still like I thought it was effective, and I thought that added a nice like twist to the whole thing.
Mhm.
But I don't know, man. I think Force Awakens. I love uh, Poe Dameron. I love the X-wing
It's
fights. I
got
love
so
like
many like great sequences too. Like the attack on the Jakku village at the beginning is
yeah.
yeah, is great. That's like that's dark Star Wars right there.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's not really touched upon. It's more touched upon in Battlefront, the new Battlefront 2 game, which isn't that good by the way, don't play it. But they touch upon it here, and it's really the first scene with Kylo and Hux like arguing, um, because you find out that the stormtroopers were taken at birth to be raised as stormtroopers and brainwashed into the First Order, which I think is a brilliant idea. I just wish that came through more later. I mean, not maybe not necessarily in the next one, but maybe in like the Rise of Skywalker, because I feel like in the Rise of Skywalker, like it was cool, like seeing like, oh, there's like another defected stormtrooper, but I don't think like the stormtrooper defection like came across as well as
Yeah, it should have been more. I think.
it should have
I,
been a group of people. Like if
yeah,
it was
they
a group of like if he was just talking to Jaina, but there was like still a group of people around him, like
right.
I think I would have bought it more. That was like, okay, these are like all the stormtroopers that are defected, but Jaina's like the leader of these defected stormtroopers.
Like I just think it should have been on a bigger scale. I feel like Finn was set up in this movie to be like the rogue stormtrooper, the stormtrooper that disobeyed, the storm like the whatever the bug in the system or whatever that they call that Phasma calls him at one point.
Yeah.
Um, like I feel like throughout the trilogy, the way this movie set it up is that Finn should have the story for Finn should have leaned more into him being a former stormtrooper,
Hmm.
and like that should have been. I would have liked to have seen him try to help like his former brothers and sisters that were stormtroopers, like
Yeah.
try to get them out of all that like
Yeah.
brainwashing, like in like a whole stormtrooper revolution by the time of the end of the trilogy would have been amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
it would have been.
uh, like I imagine just a whole legion of stormtroopers all just removing their helmets.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Like, come on! Like that's I felt like this movie set up something like that in the future, and it just never happened.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Um,
Um, what are your thoughts on Maz Kanata?
Mascanada, I can kind of take her leave to be honest. I don't. I think she's okay.
This
I
one I think sets her up to have really interesting potential. And I remember there was rumors or theories out there. This is why I don't trust fan theories that she may have had like some connection to Yoda, or that she it might have been like a similar species to Yoda. So that's like how she knows about like the Force and the Jedi and all of that.
yeah.
Uh, It's just the sequels don't really do anything with her.
No, yeah, she's kind of mysterious in this, but like you said, yeah, they never expanded on her enough to like really care.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, she's not one of my favorites. I do like uh I think Hux is really interesting in this movie in
yeah,
particular.
yeah.
Um, because he's not really treated as comic relief in this movie. He is
No,
treated
but
as like an extremist fascist kind
well,
of guy.
that's what I love about him because it seems like he's just going like so far to like the extremist like fascist like type that he thinks he should be on the top. And then
Yeah.
like like I understand I I know that people like complain that he's just made a joke in the Last Jedi, but I think him thinking he should reach that height is part of the reason why like he is made a joke in the Last Jedi. Like he thinks he's going to like be like that, but then in the Last Jedi he is literally like flung around a room and like punched in a room and
Repeatedly.
like he even tries to kill Kylo after Kylo kills Snoke.
Right. Well, that's something I always liked was the little like subplot of Kylo and Hux having this kind of rivalry for Snoke's affections.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. I wish they expanded more on it, but I do think it's there throughout the trilogy. Like it's in
Yeah.
Last Jedi,
That
it's in
it
Rise of
it's
Skywalker.
yeah, it's why I don't have so much of a problem with him being like comic relief or just a total joke in the next one because I was like I think that after like especially when he's like given that speech on Star Killer Base, which is that the planet Ilum where they like make the lightsaber?
Ilum. Yeah, supposedly that's Ilum, yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really
Yeah, but
looked
when
that
he's like
into it.
when he's basically like Hitler Jr. giving the speeches, and then you see him where he is in the beginning of the Last Jedi. I'm like, I think it's natural that he's a joke because like I think he thinks he's like better, not just trying to go for like Snoke's affections or trying to be better than Kylo, but I feel like he just thinks he's better than everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think I would have preferred in Last Jedi if other people like Poe maybe made digs at him, but I
Yeah,
feel like the way even Donald Gleason was probably directed to play it was he just acts so goofy in The Last Jedi. He's
yeah,
like, I don't know, there's something weird about the performance where he's just like the whole first part, like I think he's like saying your mother or whatever. I think he's messing with you, sir. And he's like, oh, 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 fire. I'm like, I don't know. It's a little over the top. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't fully work for me, but I don't like hate it or anything.
yeah.
Um, and like Phasma, we got to talk about Phasma. If we're going to talk about the sequel trilogy, we got to talk about the most important character, Captain Phasma,
Asthma.
who, listen, Phasma before the movie came out, when the trailer happened and you saw the chrome looking trooper, I was like, that is one of the coolest designs ever. I hope that's the main villain. That is amazing. And then it was like,
Chrome
oh,
Dome,
and then they're like, oh, Brienne of Tarth is playing her. Gwendolyn Christie. I'm like,
which was even better.
yes, she's so badass. She's gonna be awesome. And then you see the movie and it's like, she's just standing there. And I'm like, okay, okay, it's coming. She's gonna kick ass. And then she gets jumped and they held at gunpoint. And then she immediately like betrays the First Order. I'm like, what the shit is this? Like,
Well,
she's such
dude,
a cool design.
what made it even worse is like all the merchandising behind her too.
Yes, she was everywhere, and I think she was the action figure that had like the most sales because
Yeah,
she looks the
dude,
coolest.
I got the Captain Phasma Christmas ornament.
Oh, like it's such a waste. I'm like, I would have loved Phasma to be like an actual
Yeah.
villain in this trilogy, and instead she's just kind of a glorified extra. And I'm like, that sucks. And I really was like, oh man, Force Awakens really screwed her up. And then Kathleen Kennedy's like, oh, don't worry, she'll be back. I'm like, thank God. And then I saw The Last Jedi and she's in like 2 minutes. I'm like, damn it. Like, what? I don't know, man. But Phasma should have been amazing. And then she was a joke. In the
Yeah, I mean, I you can't really blame that on like Ryan Johnson or I mean, I guess you could because he could have used her a little bit more, but I mean, it was just the way it was set up. Now, what about Snoke? Because I think we might have differing opinions on Snoke.
I'm not. Here's the thing. When I first saw this movie, I did not like Snoke at all. I thought he
I
was Palpatine,
Yeah.
but not. Like they're like, oh, there's an evil Dark Lord sitting in a chair, and he's an
But
old man, and he's all
I'll get
deformed.
I'll
I'm
get
like,
into
it's
this I'll get into this more when we talk about the scene in The Last Jedi. Um, but I don't think he's needed in this trilogy.
No, I
No.
agree. I
Like
agree, and
like,
I think
I
the
think
way honestly, I think people will hate me for this, but I think the explanation for him and Rise of Skywalker at least makes it make sense that
dude,
he's just a Palpatine ripoff because he is sort of Palpatine.
well, dude,
Like,
dude, not only that, but, like, people who were pissed that he died in, The Last Jedi, like, without any explanation, it's like, yeah, who whatever, like, even if you don't like the explanation in The Rise of Skywalker, they at least explain who the dude is.
right. Well, that's the thing. When I watched both this and Last Jedi, I kind of was just like, Snoke's just
Well,
giant Palpatine.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't
and
care. He shoots lightning and he has red guards. Like, he's literally Palpatine, but
yeah,
not. And then
yeah,
like, oh yeah, he's Palpatine's like clone experiment guy, puppet guy. And I'm like, okay, okay, yeah, okay, I
yeah,
buy it. Yeah, he's
yeah,
Palpatine.
but then you had everybody who was like, "He's Darth Plagueis, he's Darth Plagueis, he's
Okay,
Darth Plagueis,
okay,
I'm gonna die on
okay.
the
Yo,
hill."
I would have died on that hill. I wish he was
You
Darth
bought
Plagueis.
into it for a little bit.
Yes, because it would have made sense. Like, okay, so Plagueis in the novel Plagueis, I forget what species it is. It's the weird skinny tall people with the weird heads and the banking clan people. I forget what they're called. Um, mutant Muns, maybe
I
Muns.
don't know, I have no
Um,
idea.
but Darth Plagueis, I think, would have been the best choice as the main villain for this trilogy, and
I
because.
disagree.
But listen, man, listen. That would have connected everything.
I
It would have
know,
been like
I
the
understand.
prequels, the originals, everything. I would have been like, holy shit, that opera scene now makes everything make sense.
I I understand that, but I think just having another, like, big big bad like that, I mean, we obviously know that he's a Palpatine clone, but I think just having another big bad like that when you literally have Kylo Ren right there, like, who is
Yeah, but
already being set up to be the main villain of the
if
trilogy.
if Kylo though is gonna go down the route he goes, which is as a redeemed hero, well, redeemed
Eh,
villain by the
which I
end.
didn't want. I didn't want that.
Yeah, I know, and I'm still on the fence about it myself. but if that was the route we were going to go down, I think Plagueis would have made more sense. Wouldn't have upset as many people as bringing back Palpatine. And like I'm on board with bringing back Palpatine overall, but
Yeah,
I think Plagueis, if you wanted to do like an overarching evil, I think having him revealed to be Palpatine's master and like a guy who has cheated death supposedly before would have like connected the prequels and the originals, and it would have felt like, oh, this is the natural step up from Palpatine. Is
yeah,
Palpatine's master who has been manipulating everything maybe the whole time? Like
yeah,
that would have been interesting, I think.
yeah.
But I was fine with him not being Plagueis, and I was okay with his explanation in Rise of Skywalker. As far as Force Awakens, Snoke's not in it much, but I will say when he was first introduced, I thought he was fucking huge. Like, who is this guy? He's massive.
You didn't realize he was a hologram?
Well, no, I would say like they kind of had like at first though when you first see him, there's not like the like super obvious blue glimmer.
Yeah.
It's like it's a little there, but not really, and there's like a slight disruption. I'm like, oh, thank God he's a hologram. But like at first, when I first see him,
Like,
I'm like,
how the fuck is
whoa!
this guy?
How are they gonna lightsaber fight that guy? Yeah, like he was like interesting, but like I just wasn't a huge fan ever of Snoke. I think,
No,
like you said, I don't think he's necessary.
no.
Um, especially the way he's
You
ended up.
have we're gonna have those people that are gonna clap back at us and be like, "But that face, there's something behind that scarred face other than just a Palpatine clone."
Remember when people said he was Mace Windu?
Well, dude, you know what the funniest part was in terms of all these fan theories? Remember when people said Rey was Shmi Skywalker reincarnated?
No thanks. Well, I think that's both a strength and a weakness of Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy as a whole. Because it's J.J. Abrams. It's very much this movie sets up all these things that
Well,
like aren't
he's because
fully explained.
the problem with J.J. Abrams, other than like Mission Impossible 3, because he doesn't do it in Mission Impossible 3, but his style of storytelling is like mystery boxes. So like here's this person or here's this thing, and oh, we're gonna try and make a movie like that'll raise some questions you may have about that person or that thing, and then hopefully the other movies will Answer those.
Yep. So I mean that you set yourself up for like it's interesting, it adds a lot of intrigue. I remember the 2 years between this and Last Jedi. Literally every other video on YouTube it felt like was either who's Rey's parents or who's Snoke. Like that was like every video was like,
But
Snoke is this
here,
person, Snoke
and
is this person, Snoke's me. Like it's
yeah,
just like
and here's the problem I have with those videos, and here's why I'm actually really happy that Snoke wasn't Plagueis, because I feel like if that was true, if any of this was true, I mean, one of them did come true because a lot of people theorized that Rey was Palpatine's granddaughter, so that's the one that came true. But like, if any, but I'm saying like in terms of the other ones, let's just say that didn't come true for a minute. In terms of all of these fan theories, this is why I did not want Snoke to be Darth Plagueis. I did not want Rey to be anything other than a nobody, because I think that
I liked Rey Kenobi.
I think that connecting these characters to already established characters just kind of would just bog the characters down. And not only that, but if you're predicting the outcome or the heritage of these characters, like you're that's the exact definition of writing a predictable movie. And I don't like predictable movies. Like I like to be challenged as an audience member. Like if you're writing it, like if you're writing that movie, why would you be like so happy? Like or if you're theorizing that, why would you be happy that Rey is a Kenobi or something? Like it's revealed, like say it's revealed in Rise of Skywalker, oh Rey, you're actually a Kenobi. I would have been like, no, duh. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
Like
for
because I've
me,
seen 30,000 videos on the topic already about people predicting it. I would rather her just be. I would have rather have had her just be a nobody. I mean, obviously she ends up being Palpatine's granddaughter, but I do think that is actually handled fairly well. I just hate the scene with Kylo where he's like, "You have power. You have his power." I hate that. I hate that scene. Um, but no, like I just think any of those fan theories, because they're so predictable, would have just had the dramatic weight of a feather.
see, I sort of disagree, but sort of agree. Um, for me, it all depends on how it's handled, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's really comes down to shock and surprise versus uh, fulfillment, and like, does it make sense? Like, if Plagueis, if that came true, I would have been like, sure, it wouldn't have been shocking, it wouldn't have been like, but it would have been like, yeah, like that makes sense to the story. Like, I'll give an
Yeah.
example: Game of Thrones, a show famous for twists. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched Game of Thrones
Bran
out
becomes king.
there. Like there were things people predicted early on, even for like such a like show that's known for being full, and then books that are known for having twists and like being
Mhm.
shocking. People predicted very early on in the books that Jon Snow, his parentage was who his parentage is.
Yeah.
And when that happened in the show, sure, I had seen tons of videos saying J R plus L equals J or whatever, but and I kind of expected that, like, yeah,
Mhm.
but it made so much sense. It still hit really hard because like it's true. Like it's true. Like that has to be the thing. Like that
Yeah.
it makes too much sense not to be the thing. Like it
Yeah.
felt good. And it felt and then when season 8 rolled around, a lot of problems were a lot of the story directions were shocking and surprising, but they did not make sense with what was set up. Like it
Right.
was like, yeah, or at least it wasn't fully organically led in that direction.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where the kind of balance is. Where if it had been Plagueis, I wouldn't have been shocked, but maybe I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's it's a balancing act. Um, so it really comes down to shock value versus, you know, if it's something's predictable but feels right, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what it really comes down to for me. But I don't know. Snoke in this movie, I don't know. Snoke in general, I'm just kind of lukewarm on.
Yeah.
I'm actually not a huge fan of Leia in this movie, and I feel terrible for saying that.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't.
This one,
I love her Last Jedi.
yeah, yeah, she's great in the last. This one, it's like it's almost like that like Carrie Fisher hasn't acted for a while, so it's like this is kind of like her like warm up
There's
a
something
little bit.
off about the whole performance, and maybe not even the performance, but just the way and the scenes with her feel off.
Yeah.
I don't know what it
I
is.
think it's just the way that they're weaved into the story, because I know that they said that Han was gonna be in it the most, which I think he's weaved in fine.
Mhm.
And they said Leia was gonna be in it the second most, and then Luke the least.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
because each movie of the trilogy, which we should really talk about, one of the biggest complaints about the trilogy, which I actually agree with. There should have absolutely been an overarching plan.
yeah.
That is the biggest fault with these 3 movies, is that for some reason, for God knows why,
I don't know why.
they didn't map out everything. Like, how do you not start this trilogy by going, okay, we want J.J. Abrams to direct Force Awakens, we want Ryan Johnson to direct Last Jedi, we want Colin Trevorrow to do the third one. Put those 3 guys in a room with their writers or whatever. Ryan Johnson writes his own scripts, put Ryan Johnson there. Like, put them in a room and have them get a huge whiteboard and map out where these characters are going.
Yeah,
For consistency's sake, map out where they're going.
yeah,
Like, I think where they ended up, they overall, I think, did an okay job. I think
yeah.
overall, the sequel trilogy, I think people gave it too much flack for that. But I absolutely think there should have been a more concrete plan.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
think it's
mean,
crazy that there's not.
well, I mean, you have that whole interview that J.J. Abrams did recently with Collider, where I don't think he was referring to Star Wars. I think he was referring to something else, and it got taken out of context. But where he's basically like, yeah, like you should go into anything big with a plan, and I've learned from experience that you do need a plan. And then everybody on social media is like, yeah, no shit, Jar Jar Abrams.
God, I hate that.
Yeah, I know,
Um,
I do too.
like JJ did a good job directing this movie, I thought. I think the emotional beats hit where they should, the nostalgic beats hit where they should, the
Yeah,
exciting parts in this movie in particular, I get hyped. Like
yeah.
when they get on the Falcon and they're flying the
Dude,
Falcon and
the
like
the Falcon chase, man, is probably my favorite part of the movie.
yeah, that even the TIE fighter like little thing in the beginning with Poe and Finn, I get like hyped up.
Oh, here's what I gotta say. Where was that in A New Hope? Okay, all you people that say this is a carbon copy,
Like I think JJ added a bit like this movie is super exciting as well as like
it
emotional and
just keeps
nostalgic.
moving. That's
Yeah,
the like you can. I mean, hate the Rise of Skywalker all you want, but the two movies that JJ directed in this trilogy, they just keep moving.
you're not saying there's a slow 2 hour long chase between
Hey,
frigates.
I like that. It made sense. How dare you?
Send some TIE fighters and kill them. They're slowly
How dare
moving. Go
you?
kill them.
How dare you?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I don't know. Force Awakens to me, it has the most of this trilogy, the most like hype moments where I felt like, yes, like hell yes, like that over there, that's garbage. And then it's the Millennium Falcon. It's like, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh
dun,
god.
dun, dun, dun. Oh, that's another thing. People complain that Ray knows how to fly the Millennium Falcon like that.
She's probably flown before, right? I don't know.
I would assume so.
All she listen, people will forgive it as long as someone says something like, "This is just like Beggar's Canyon back home." Like, just you bet I am. I'm a great pilot. You don't need this guy, Ben.
I shouldn't bring this up, but
Oh god, oh god, Alex, what are you about to do?
I think people would be more accepting of Ray if, like, I don't know what it is, man. Like, if like she was like a stereotypical male gaze character.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's very
Yeah,
sad.
sadly, like I said, I hate bringing it up, but if she looked like a supermodel, like I think people would have been more forgiving of Ray, because they would be like, "Oh, something to look at."
Well, there's unfortunately, and it's not everyone. Like I'm not going to
Yeah,
say it's everyone, but a lot of there is a section of people I remember vividly when this movie came out that were just very against the idea of a woman and a black guy being the leads,
yeah,
which is awful and disgusting.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
that people like that even exist. Um, pisses me off. To be
Yeah,
honest.
it pisses me
Like
off.
it makes me like there's this toxicity in some Star Wars sections of fans where I'm like I'm ashamed to be a Star Wars fan sometimes because of you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, exactly. Like you make
uh,
it worse for all of us.
exactly. And it's like it's sad and it's just like pathetic and um I just it's frustrating because there was these really interesting cast of new characters like
Yeah,
Finn, Rey, Poe, Kylo Ren. BB-8 was amazing.
yeah,
Like
BB-8,
I
awesome.
thought I was
Love
gonna hate BB-8. I'm like, you're not R2. Get the
You're just a discount soccer ball.
like he was great, and like I thought they did a great job introducing all these people, and it's just I don't know. It's debatable how their arcs went and stuff, but in this movie, I thought they were all great.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't,
I'm with you on that. I mean, I have no problem with Ray being able to just fly the Millennium Falcon like that. Like, if she's a scavenger on a planet, like, I think she would know. Like, even if she's never flown before, like, she's scavenging for ship parts.
well,
You
she
know
has the Force.
exactly.
If you're telling me a 9-year-old child can sit in a pod attached to 2 engines and
It's
he can
working.
he's fucking amazing because he has the Force.
Yeah,
That's why. His reflexes are amazing because he has the Force.
yeah,
Like that's the only like the first time, like you'd be like, oh, but he's raced before. Yeah, but what about the first time Anakin raced? What
hmm
about that we didn't see and he somehow
exactly,
survived?
exactly.
Like he and Qui-Gon Jinn's like, oh, only a Jedi can like has reflexes like that. It's like the Force allowed him to be able to do things that shouldn't be possible. This
Right.
little twerp 9-year-old kid is doing that. Like I can buy Ray flying a ship because little Annie is fucking beating Saboba in a race. And Saboba was the best racer because he fought dirty. And there's no rules in pod racing. uh,
Little Skywalker's
so,
done it.
sometime, Alex, we are going to have an in-depth 2-hour deep dive into just the pod race.
It's not a bad race.
I love that sequence. I'll fight to the death.
I used to go back and forth on it, but I love it now.
Ben Quadraneros for life.
I've always the pre-race man when they're like fixing up the ship. I've always loved that little kid who's like, "It's not gonna work, Annie," and then there's that other kid who's like, "Come on, guys, let's go play ball."
Fuck that kid. I hope Darth Vader came back and murdered that kid.
He was the youngling Anakin killed.
I hope Darth Vader showed back up on Tatooine for just a day trip to relieve some stress and use the Force to take the ball and just murder the kid. Let's play ball. um, like, I don't know, man. Like, I can buy the Force allowing people to do crazy shit.
Dude, as
Luke
we
Skywalker should not have been able to make that shot in the Death Star. But the
no,
Force willed it, or he
well,
willed the Force.
dude, and then as we learn in the Last Jedi, like you just said, the Force does crazy things. Like in the Last Jedi, the Force allows people to tap into the Force, even if you're not strong in the Force. Like we see it with uh, Rose's sister. Like she taps into the Force in the Last Jedi. Like
Thanks.
it allows you to do different things. Like there's no set in stone.
What about Donnie Yen in Rogue One?
Yeah, exactly.
A blind man walking through crazy hellfire
He is
shit.
the Force. The Force is with him.
One with the Force, and the Force is with him. Ip Man kicked
Yeah,
ass because of the
exactly.
Force.
Exactly. Like
Yeah, I mean, I bought it. Like, I thought that was always. I mean, on that same topic, the lightsaber fight at the end was debated for like years because people are like, Kylo Ren is a trained fighter. He knows years of lightsaber experience. He should have murdered her. And I'm like, okay, he got shot by Chewie's.
yeah, not to mention, yeah, bowcaster.
Bowcaster.
Yeah,
I was like,
not
this
to mention
person-
he's not in the best state emotionally or physically.
He
since
just
he just
murdered his
killed his
father.
dad.
He's having a rough day. The planet around him is exploding. He's distracted. But also, like, the Force does crazy shit, okay? It does
Yeah,
crazy shit.
exactly.
Like, Yoda lifted up an airplane out of the swamp with nothing but his will.
Not only that, Force Ghost Luke did it too.
There we go. But
Yeah.
it's just, I always hated those arguments.
The Force allows Force Ghosts to just sit on a log and take a load off.
And like we saw too that Rey had combat training prior. She had
Yeah.
to fight off scavengers all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't know, man. It made me mad.
Like for her using a lightsaber is no different than using her staff.
I mean, in a way, yeah, and guided with the Force as well. Like, and
Yeah.
for a lot of that fight too, she's running away, like backing away, and
Dude,
he's just
she's
coming.
losing. Here's the thing: the
He
two
also doesn't
lightsabers.
want to kill her. He wants to teach her.
Yeah,
He full
exactly.
out's like, "Ah,
Like,
you need a
like he's
teacher."
not going to
He's
try
not
and
trying
hurt
to
her.
kill her.
Yeah, like here's the thing between the two lightsaber fights, between Rey and Kylo in this trilogy. For a good chunk of both fights, Rey is losing, and if you when you think about it, she actually loses the fight in the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
The
she
only
would have died
Yeah, the only
if
reason she
Leia
gets
didn't die. She would have
yeah,
died.
that's the only reason she gets the upper hand and stabs Kylo is because not Rey, Leia intervened with the Force. Like if that didn't happen, Rey would have been toast.
But people don't like to look at that. They just like to be like, "Oh, look at they made a Mary Sue and she's good at everything." I'm like,
Oh, Mary Sue, because like I said, one dude who's not even associated with this series,
you
who
know what's funny though?
abuses women in real life.
Anakin Skywalker can be great at everything as a 9-year-old kid,
Yeah,
but people allow it because see, they go, "He's the chosen one." Like,
and
but what
he's
does that even mean?
and he's male.
He's got a high midichlorian count, sure,
Yeah.
but like, Ray is super powerful in the Force too because guess what, guys? She's a Palpatine. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because I feel like people gave a lot of flack to other things and then just completely
Well, I
barreled
think
down on like Ray, for
yeah,
instance.
I think my whole thing with this trilogy too, not so much with this movie, but the next two as well, is that people just see one thing they don't like and then they just hate the entire movie.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I have problems with all these movies.
Yeah.
Like, I have problems with Last Jedi. I have problems with Rise of Skywalker,
Well,
but
yeah.
there's a lot of great things in them as well
Yeah, like
that people ignore because they're focused on what they hate
I'm
instead
pretty
of
sure
protecting what they love.
I'm pretty sure I'm in the same boat with you, but you know me, I love The Last Jedi. Like to me, it's like a flawed masterpiece. Like I acknowledge like the people who say like I don't think that this works. I'm like, yeah, but for me that works. Like I
I
understand
feel that
I
too.
understand where people come from when they have their gripes. I don't understand people just saying, "Oh, Luke is an old hermit now and tried to murder his son," when that did not happen.
Or the people going, Luke would not drink that milk from that thing's.
Yeah, I said son. I meant nephew. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just.
Luke would not drink that with blue milk from that cow's tit, but he was a farmer, so he was drinking blue milk in A New Hope anyway.
It's just crazy, man. Like this
Yeah,
movie, I mean, not this one in particular, but this gets flack for a lot of things I don't think it should get flack for.
yeah. It definitely should get flack for Starkiller Base.
Yes, good call. I mean, I
Okay.
think that's my least favorite thing in this movie by far.
I think I would have been okay with it. Like if they wanted to do like another like they literally do another Death Star. They
They
literally say
literally
in the
say
movie,
it. It's
yeah,
another Death
it's
Star.
another Death Star, and
Like
we
Akbar,
see
I
we
hope you have a great death in the
we
future.
see we literally we literally see it blow up Hosnian Prime, which is the capital of the New Republic. Which I think I could have handled. I think I would have been okay with that.
Care? Who cares?
I
It
think
should have been Coruscant, damn it.
well, it
Why
looked like
not? Why not?
I
Why?
know.
Like, I don't get that. I'm like, if you had at least destroyed Coruscant, it would have been like, hey, look, Coruscant, and then it blows up, and we would be like, oh man, maybe Jar Jar. Like we don't know.
Did
Like,
Has Jar Jar been alive? What if Jar Jar was Snoke?
I just like I would have that would have been nice. Like because when Hosnian Prime blew up, I literally did not care because
Well,
I had no idea
dude,
what that
that's
meant.
okay.
What did
Okay,
that mean?
dude,
They're like
that's
the
not.
Republic is gone. I'm like, are they? How
This
big's
isn't.
the Republic?
This is not a problem I have with the sequel trilogy alone. It's a problem I have with all of the trilogies. Where the fuck is Coruscant in the original trilogy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I assume it's just out there, like
Where
somewhere
the
else.
fuck is Mustafar?
They talk about the
Where
Senate
is
in a
Geonosis?
I mean, it's a big galaxy, so I'll forgive that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it have made sense for the Republic to just
If you
still
okay, if
function out of Coruscant?
like you you bring back Tatooine in this trilogy
Yeah.
at the end, but you basically replace it with another sand planet that's Tatooine.
That's yeah. The Force Awakens in particular feels like it's ashamed to fully explore familiar places, but
Well,
also at the same time, we're gonna go to places that look familiar.
well, okay, and I give Pisana in the Rise of Skywalker a pass because
Yeah,
everybody's just like another sand planet, but I was like, yeah, but it's got like rock formations, like
it's
it's got
got giant
the
snakes.
giant snakes, it's got the Aki puppets.
Hacky hacky, man.
Yeah,
That nosy little one who's like, "What's your last name?" I'm like, "Fuck off!" Like, I don't know you.
but
You're a
like, see,
stranger.
but my point is like,
Like,
yeah,
you don't have to answer her, Ray. Just tell her to fuck off and walk away.
but see, my point is like bringing up Asana. Like, yeah, sure, it's another sand planet, but there's at least enough that's distinct about it to make it feel different from Tatooine and Jakku.
Yeah. Plus, you got the
Whereas, like,
Knights of Red standing on mountains. Who cares?
kidnapping Chewie and making us think he's dead. Dude, when that happened, I was ready to murder J.J. Abrams.
Save him for Rise of
I
Skywalker.
will. I will.
But yeah, okay, yeah.
But like, do you get my point though? Like,
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
Pasana at least feels like it's like at least, even though it's a sand planet, like at least feels like it's more
Because
detailed.
if you didn't call Jakku, you could
I
easily
was
just assume it's Tatooine. And if you didn't call Maz's planet whatever, I'd go, oh, it's Yavin. Like, like
Yeah, Maz's planet, Takadana.
we got the sand planet, the snow planet, and the sand planet, and it's
Okay,
like
if you didn't know that Starkiller Base was a planet, and it was just like, oh hey, we're just shooting a big giant gun out of here, but you had no idea it was a planet, would you assume it was Hoth?
probably like I feel like it
Yeah,
was like I get wanting, like I've said, wanting to bring that familiar feeling from the
yeah,
original trilogy. Fair enough, fair enough.
yeah.
But the prequels, one of their strengths was the completely
Detailed.
interesting in planets and environments and like concepts. And like you go from like crazy planets, like the 2 minutes, not even, you're on Felucia, which is crazy. It's like
Dude,
giant
dude,
flowers and
you go
plants.
from Coruscant to Camino.
Yeah, like it's awesome. Geonosis is like a kind of a sand planet, but no, it's actually like a weird canyon place with freaky ass bugs and
With a
Boggle the
gladiator
Lesser being
arena.
like, oh.
you, you had that like four-legged creature that's just going, "Woo!" I can't do that. That
Like,
chases
yeah, you
after
had George Lucas and his team in the prequels came up with some crazy planet, Utapau, a sinkhole
yeah,
planet. Like that's awesome.
I know.
And then you go from that to another sand planet, another forest planet, another ice planet. Like it's like,
Yeah,
and then also I'll just say, I like some of the creature designs in the sequels, but overall they left a lot to be desired.
oh
I
wow.
I think you could have. Did you notice they don't have like any of the other familiar ones? Like
Yeah,
where are the Twi'leks? Where are the what's his
or
face?
where are the tuk-tuks?
Yeah, like where like there's just it just there's some creatures I expect to see in like
Where's
Star
Bib Fortuna?
well, watch Mandalorian, and he's but yeah, I don't know. That's not one of my favorite things. And Starkiller Base,
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know whose bright idea it was
Yeah,
to
going
do
back to
the Death
what
Star
I was saying
again.
though, I think I would have been more accepting of it being like another like Death Star if the way to blow up Starkiller Base wasn't the exact same as
But
blowing.
Alex, it's not the same. It's an oscillator. I'm like, thanks, Quill from X3, for explaining that to me.
But like,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they didn't have like that trench run and all
Yeah,
that,
it's all way
like
too
I think
focused.
I would have been more accepting of it like as like a planet killing planet rather than in like being like another Death Star rather than just being the exact same thing.
Yeah, because it's bigger, and now it blows up more than one planet at once. I'm like,
And then as we find out, they took the tech and put them on Star Destroyers. So
yeah,
Star Destroyer,
which
yeah.
is also not one of my favorite things in the
No,
Rise
no,
of Skywalker.
no, that's
Completely unnecessary.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Overall, though, Force Awakens, I think is a good movie. Like, I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's a well-made movie. I think it's got great characters. I
Yeah,
think it's not fully original, but I also think that that's intentional.
yeah,
Uh, I don't know. I've always enjoyed it. The hype in the theater was unbelievable. Like it was such a memorable theater experience.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I think all the acting's great. I love Han. I love Chewie in
yeah.
this. Like Han dying was something
It's needed.
Harrison Ford has wanted since Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Let Han die.
Well, that's another complaint too. That like all the legacy characters die. I'm like, they were going to.
As much as I would have loved to have seen like Luke and Han and Leia all sitting in the Falcon together again, like that would have been cool and all, but that's not what this trilogy's about.
Exactly.
Like that's not what any of this was. It's about passing the torch to new characters.
Yes.
Like
Exactly.
I don't know.
This dude gets it.
It would have been cool. Like it would have been. I would have been freaking out,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's what any of this was about.
No. Yeah. And like people are just and, like people who say that this trilogy was just made to kill off the original characters. How do you know that the original plan for 9 was to have Leia die? For all we know, Leia was probably going to live throughout the entirety of Episode 9. Like
Lando
you cannot
makes it through the trilogy.
you cannot blame that on them. Like that, like they were put into a tough spot with Carrie Fisher. Like,
Absolutely. Oh, unbelievably tough. I do
yeah,
not envy the
yeah,
position they were in.
yeah.
And I think we'll get to Rise of Skywalker. I'll save it for that.
Gotcha. Any closing thoughts on The Force Awakens?
I think it's good. I really like the movie a lot. I think it gets too much flack in general, especially because a lot of people who loved it when it first came out, because the sequel trilogy didn't go the way they wanted it to later down the road. They're like, well,
Yeah,
now I hate The Force Awakens. So it's like, it's still the same movie. Yeah,
yeah,
it
exactly.
didn't like the things it set up might not have been paid off, but it's the same people who go, "Oh, season 8 of Game of Thrones ruins the whole show for me," and I go, "But all those episodes were still great. All those scenes were still great. They might not have led to what you wanted it to lead to,
Exactly,
but they're still great.
dude. Well,
It's about the
like,
journey."
yeah, like I kind of look at it like the same with the prequel trilogy. Like, I'm not huge on the Phantom Menace. I don't like Attack of the Clones, but like Revenge of the Sith is like the payoff. Does that mean like that doesn't change the outcome of the other two movies really
Yeah,
for
exactly.
me? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
to the
yeah,
opposite way. Like,
I
yeah,
can
it had a great payoff, but
yeah, like
the parts leading up to it could have been better.
I can still sit there and watch the Phantom Menace. I can still sit there and barely watch Attack of the Clones. Uh,
How
but
dare
like
you, Jango Fett?
worst bounty hunter ever.
How dare you?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't. It's so weird to me when I see people like saying like the sequel trilogy characters are the worst characters and all. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna tell me that they're worse than Jar Jar. They're worse than the Trade Federation Weasel guys. Like, and then I said that one time,
He's
and then
that
everybody, and then people, yeah, and then people were just like, well, "You're just naming prequel trilogy characters." I'm like, "Yeah, because half the characters in the prequel trilogy sucked." My final thoughts on this movie: it's good, and you're all stupid.
Oh, the end of the movie, by the way,
Yeah,
amazing. The literal cliffhanger was
yeah.
amazing.
Well,
Like the
do you
music,
know what was
the
originally?
build up.
Do you know what that scene was originally supposed to be?
Wasn't Luke making rocks float?
Yeah, but then Ryan Johnson told JJ to change it
Yeah.
because well,
Controversial.
yeah, because Luke's cut off from the Force. But no, I think him lifting rocks would have been weird to see. I think like why is he lifting rocks?
I
Is he
don't know.
helping is he helping the fish nuns build a new hut?
Listen, I love the fish nuns. They're
The fish
best.
nuns are awesome.
They're the best. No one talks about them.
Them and the forks. That's going to wrap up our defense of The Force Awakens. We hope we swayed you to actually like this movie instead of bashing
If not, it's fine. I just like
it.
talking
It's
about
fine.
it.
It's fine. Okay, I'll say this. You can dislike this trilogy as long as you have legitimate reasons.
And be
dislike.
respectful. Treat
Yeah.
each other with kindness and
Yeah.
respect.
Yes.
Take away the lessons of Star Wars. Don't
Yeah.
be a Sith. Be nice.
But you know all the people. But you know people won't do that because you know they're going up to Disney right now, holding this trilogy in their or holding the original 6 in their hands, saying, "You will not take this from me."
Or they're going up to Disney and going, we hate you. But man, we love this Luke Skywalker scene in Mandalorian. And Disney goes, well, we made that too.
Listen, dude, I could do a whole video on like Kathleen Kennedy, like, and why she's good. Okay, yeah. So that's a story for another day. Where can they find you, Pat?
You can find me sometimes on this channel, as well as on Twitter at this.
I feel like this has replaced our podcast that is yet to be released.
I know, right? I'm like, yeah, we're covering topics that we sort of talked about there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can find me at my official website, alexmadedmovies.mystrikingly.com. All my social media links are there. We will see you soon.
Don't hate us.
Yeah, don't hate us.
We're
Please
just giving opinions.
I will say too, please keep the comment. If you are going to comment, please keep the comment section respectful. I will not tolerate failure. No, I'm just kidding. I just went for Dr. Evil. I will not tolerate like any like hate speech, bullying in the comics. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. So just keep that in mind if you are going to comment, since we do know that these are controversial movies that I think will get better with time. I think they will be more accepted with time.
Yeah,
But
prequels, if the prequels are any indication, then that probably is going to happen.
yeah,
Something else will come along that people will hate.
another trilogy. 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's our thoughts on The Force Awakens. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.